Good evening, good evening. This is EJ Melvin, and we are back again with you today. We're going to be talking about part three of five keys to walking in your purpose and stepping into your greatness. And so today we've had a very busy day. We've been out looking for apartments, condos, and houses, places to live here in the area as my niece is relocating. So we're late today coming on, but I guess what? We're going to go ahead with this tip number three, which is fully equipped for purpose, fully equipped. And the word equipped means to supply with the necessary items for a particular purpose. And remember, we are talking about walking in your divine purpose, why you have been assigned into the earth. And when we come into the earth, we must understand, hello, Janet, God bless you. When we are created, we each are fully equipped with our very own tool belt. When God sends us into the earth, we have everything we need to fulfill his purposes. All right. We were created with a tool belt that's carrying all the tools that we need. And when you think of tool belt, at least when I do, I think of the one that carries the hammer and the wrench and the measuring tape and all of that stuff. Is probably more like a carpentry tool belt. But when we are come into the earth, our tool belt consists of our gifts and our talents. Every person in the earth is born with at least one gift, yes, at least one talent. And then we have the opportunity to become skilled either in our natural giftings or to choose something else that we decide that we like. Gifts and talents are things that an individual has a natural propensity towards. That's why for those of you who still have children, it is imperative for you to watch the things that your child gravitates towards and then to train up a child in that thing. I know a lot of times when we in the body of Christ here train up a child in the way he should go, we automatically think about teaching that child how to pray and teaching them how to serve God and go to the church and all of this. But it also means that there is a natural propensity for that child to go in a certain direction. And if we are mindful, if we're paying attention, then we can train that child up in the way that he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. In other words, he will be fully equipped. And not only will he experience his giftings or her talents, he will also become a skilled person in that particular thing. So gifts and talents are things that a person has a natural propensity towards, such as most often we think about singing, designing our clothing, or as our buildings. We can design buildings, we can design clothing, we can design furniture. But some people have that natural propensity where others never get a creative idea on that particular issue. Mechanics, art, carpentry, driving, working with animals. There are all kinds of gifts and talents in the earth, and not one is greater than the other. But what we need to recognize is what's on your tool belt. I know there's a commercial that for the credit card company says, what's in your wallet? But I'm asking you today, what's in your tool belt? Have you ever taken a moment to just sit down and really look at who you are, where you've come from, and now what can I do? What are the kinds of things that you can do that you're already equipped to do and that maybe you may be neglecting doing those things? The things that are on your tool belt are specifically designed to help you to fulfill your purpose. Excuse me. Skills, on the other hand, are things that can be learned, and a skill is developed. Now, gifts and talents can be developed as well, but they first come with a natural propensity for that thing. However, a skill can be learned and developed. We look at the David, the psalmist. He wore really so many hats, but we often think about the psalms that he created. But that came from a natural propensity for music, okay, and also with him being out in the shepherd in the field, he had lots of time to practice. He had lots of time, so much time. So the Bible says that David created over 300 musical instruments. What do you think you could do if you were really fervently following your passion, the thing that you love to do? What kind of creative ideas could you come up with? What kind of thing could you bring into the earth that would glorify God and also serve humanity? So what have you been supplied with? Remember, we gave you the definition. To equip means to supply with the necessary items for a particular purpose. And if we know that in the earth realm, then of course we know that God already knows that. He doesn't send us here with a purpose and not give us the equipment we need in order to fulfill that purpose. So ask yourself, what have you been supplied with that can be used in the service of others? Sometimes we overlook our gift, our tool belt. Sometimes your gift may be the gift of talking, and you would think, well, that's not really a gift. But there are hundreds of ways that you could serve humanity if you have the gift of speech, the gift of talking, the gift of communicating, the gift of projecting an idea. There is a great service in the world for you to touch humanity if you are that type of person. Some people don't like to talk. They would much rather write. So their gifting will come forth in the area of writing. So it's amazing the types of things that can be on your tool belt. Also know this, that there's not just one tool on a tool belt. These things wrap around you. When you see a belt, it goes from the front back around you to the front, and on every little hinge there is a new and a different tool that will serve a different purpose. So that's what we want to be sure to do, is to look at our tool belt and not box ourselves into, well, I'm a great writer, so I will only write. That's not true. If you have one gift, you have more than one gift. The natural tool belt, let's talk about that. It carries, they carry different tools according to the profession. The natural tool belt carries different tools according to the profession. The electrician's tool belt is a lot different than the carpenter's tool belt. The carver's tool belt is very different than the cable guy or the phone guy. You know, back in the days, they used to come and install a landline. They don't do that much now, but they'll come and install either the internet or the cable. Their tool belt is going to look a whole lot different than the carpenter. The farmer's tools. We know we have a lot of farmers in the world, and especially in our nation, but they're different than the tools that are given to the Wall Street broker. But each of us is coming equipped with a full set of tools. God has not shorted you. You have absolutely everything that you need to fulfill your purpose. Some of our tools may need to be developed. Yes, you may come with a particular gifting or talent, and then with great practice, with great research, with great study, you become better and better and better. And now not only are you equipped, but you are fully equipped. And that gift and that talent is now turned into a skill. And the Word of God tells us that our gifts will make room for us. So it's very important for you to know what those gifts are. Sometimes we are missing the mark because we are going after the wrong thing. I believe that it is Zig Ziglar who stated that it's one thing to climb the ladder of success, but if it's leaning against the wrong wall, you still haven't accomplished anything. So be intentional about looking at who you are, where you've come from. And now today we're talking about, what is your packaging? What do you have on your tool belt? I believe sometimes we fail to walk in purpose because we are locked in a box. We allow other people to stuff us in the box and to say, you can only do this, only because they've only seen one facet of who you are. Many times we hide all of the goodness and the greatness that is inside of us in some type of false humility, or we don't want to brag on ourselves. I'm finding when you ask people what's wrong with them, name 3 things that you want to change about yourself, we can whip out that pen and write it down right quick. But when we say, tell me some things that are great about you, we start and and well, and we got to go and ask somebody else what's great about us, because we don't want to, quote unquote, appear that we are bragging. But you still got to know who you are and what you are capable of. And now it's time for you to begin to say that. God bless you, Pam. Welcome to the feed. All right. So you're good at it. That's what they're saying. Why don't you stick with this? Because you're so good at it. Why don't you stick with makeup and cosmetics because you're so good at it? Why don't you stick with mechanics because you're so good at it? I have a nephew who is amazing when it comes to mechanics. He can listen to your car run and diagnose it without putting it on a machine. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. His grandfather was a mechanic with the same kind of gifting, but likewise, he's also a magnificent musician. And one time he was playing the keyboard, and I promise you, I saw the musical notes floating through the air because he's just that gifted, talented, as well as anointed. All right. So don't ever get stuck in the box. When you have a tool belt, you need to know exactly what's on it, how many things are going on it, how much is on it. So I believe we need to break down the walls of you can only do one thing and come to the realization, number one, that you don't have to be in a box. And number two, that the box really doesn't even exist. There is no box when it comes to your greatness and to your potential. Listen, here's a story about the polar bear who was locked in a cage of XYZ dimensions. I don't know exactly what the dimensions were, but the bear learned how to walk a certain length to the front and then turn around and go to the back and go back to the front and back to the back. So he would pace back and forth for a very long time, not quite how long he did it, because until that pattern of movement was grooved into his brain. Then when they opened up the box, when they opened up the cage, he continued to move in the same fashion. He kept walking in the same groove. He kept taking the same number of steps, the same number of limited steps. When you are in the box, you limit your greatness. You limit your potential. You limit your creativity. So it's time for us to step outside of that invisible boundary that had once had us captivated. And so, and many of us are like that polar bear. We're trapped in the cages of our mind and our own limitation. So I want to tell you today that there are no limits because the greater one dwells within you. And because the greater one dwells within you and he is unlimited without boundary, likewise, your creative ability is unlimited and without boundary in the Lord. Then, as we go through our tool belt and take inventory, when you discover what your gifting and your talents are, you must be sure to be in an environment that causes you to flourish. God bless you, Pastor Jermaine and Brandy. You must put yourself in the environment that empowers you and causes you to flourish. A fish is a magnificent animal as long as he's in the water. But if you toss him up on the shore where he cannot be in the water, he's going to flip and flop around. He's not going to come to his greatness. His brilliance is not going to show. You're not going to be able to see his prowess in swimming. So it's important for you, once you discover what that gifting is to ensure that you get into the right environment that causes you to flourish. When you begin to flourish, in your environment, you're going to easily flow right into purpose. See, purpose is going to flow out of you when you begin to pursue the gifts, the talents, the skills that are already inside of you. When you begin to pursue those, then that gifting opens up the door for you to purpose. My God, thank you, Jesus. So if you're excelling in something, you step into a different environment and it causes you not to excel, then it's time for you to switch up. It's time to do not allow yourself to be pushed into a box where you cannot grow and you cannot produce fruit. Do not limit ourselves to an environment that somebody else has built for you. Somebody says, this is the box that we belong in. Come along with me. You will do well here too, because I'm doing well here. That's not necessarily the case. They're not coming out of the box and they're trying to convince you that the proverbial box is the place to be. So you don't want to do that. You do not want to get into somebody else's box and then absolutely stay there and never fulfill your purpose, never come to your full greatness. Each and every one of us is born to come to greatness. It might not look like Michael Jackson's greatness, but your greatness is going to be just as great because you're going to come to the fullness of your potential. As I was talking about David, we know that he was a shepherd boy, but he was also a lion and a bear killer. He was a giant killer. He was a psalmist. He was a musician and a creator of musical instruments. He was a warrior and he was a mighty king. He was a father and he was a man after God's own heart. There is so much in who God has created you to be that you don't have to settle for less than you are. So let's talk about some of the things on your tool belt. I would say to you, make sure when you're making your list, that's going to be our action step at the end of this video, is I want you to sit down and start making a list of the things that you love doing or that you can do, that you are good at doing. I know Grandma Janet is very good at hostessing. It might not seem like a gift. It might not seem like something that would make a lot of money, but there are people who are serving others with the gift of hostessing. And if she pursued that, if that's something that she really loves to do and is not just a skill that she developed over the years, then she could be great in that particular thing. Now let's look at singing, carving, cooking. Somebody said cooking. That's not my forte, not my gift, not my desire, not a skill that I'm looking to make better, but I can because it's available. Reading. There's a great market out here for reading, for you to excel in reading and to make yourself of service to somebody who maybe cannot read. You may be able to teach somebody to read. That's a service to humanity. And I'm telling you, without a doubt, every single one of us is called into the earth to serve humanity, to serve somebody in some way, somehow. Talking, comforting, advising, helping, fixing, creating, arranging. And now we even have animal whisperers. Some people are horse whisperers. Some are dog whisperers. I haven't heard anybody be a cat whisperer because cats don't listen to you. They have their own agenda and they are not interested in anything that you have to say. But I do have a very good friend who loves cats. And then she has the idea that maybe she will put together a cat spa because people love their animals. And listen, that's a service for a cat lover, is to have someone who will treat and pamper their cat. She loves cats. I told her before, that's a great idea. Go ahead and do it. She hasn't moved on it yet. I can't do it for her because guess what? I don't even like cats. They're all right when they're little bitty kittens. I think they're precious, but once they grow to full adult size, I don't want anything to do with them. So I'm not going to do any animal whispering or cat spas. Excuse me. And so I have this question for you before we close. Have you ever really taken the time to sit down and evaluate the good that is in you, the good that you are, the things that you love doing, the things that you are good at doing? Have you ever taken the time to absolutely pull out a piece of paper and start writing that down? Good evening, Danita. God bless you. And so if you want to walk in purpose, you've got to know what equipment you have, because your equipment is directly related to the purpose for which you have been created. Most people, as I said, find it easier to pick out their flaws. What's wrong with you? What would you like to change? Boy, we can whip out the pen and just go for it. But guess what? Now I want you to just do the exact opposite and flip on this thing. I want you to sit yourself down and begin to write. What am I good at? What are the things that I love doing? What are the things that I would do even if I wasn't getting paid to do them? What are the things that put a smile on my face when I do them? What do I enjoy doing and I'm good at? Write out that list. That's action step number 1. It's time to become introspective and really unpack your tool belt. What is the equipment that you have been given in order to help you fulfill your purpose? And be honest with yourself. Don't try to be, what is that word? Humble. Be absolutely bold and bodacious about what God has put on the inside of you. If you have an amazing singing voice, I've heard people come up to very good singers and say, "Oh, do you sing?" And they say, "Oh, a little bit." And they know when they open their mouth, they blow the roof off the building. It is time for us to stop negating who we are in God. Every gift, every good gift, it says, comes from above. Doesn't have anything to do with you. You weren't in charge of giving you that gift. So absolutely make it list. Write it down on what God has put on the inside of you. Sit down and make a list of all the things you love doing. Again, I say make sure that whatever you write ends in the suffix ing. Singing, creating, fixing, helping, calling, talking. You want to get your ing out. Number 2, Action step is read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? We're talking about breaking out of the proverbial box. We're not talking here about comfort zone, but we're talking about limitations and boundaries that are keeping you from your greatness and keeping you from flowing absolutely in the thing that God has called you to do. The reason that he set you in the earth, which is also called purpose. Here, read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, and then find someone who has also read that book and take time to sit and talk about it and reflect on how that relates to you. If you do not know of anyone or can't find someone who's read it, then absolutely I'm available to speak with you and you can talk with me and I'll be glad to talk with you. So on that note, we want to just make the announcement that our master class is going to be Discovering Purpose, Embracing Passion, and Maximizing Your Potential. The class is going to start July the 1st. These are just some of the things in our very first class that we are sharing with you. We'll go into much more detail when we get to our launch on July 1st. When you enroll this week, you can gain access to the entire course on July 1st for just $50. That's what's going to be the cost of the entire course. However, that's only going to go up until the 16th of June for enrollment. Once June 17th arrives, the course will go up and that $50 price is going to go away. My passion is helping you explore and develop your purpose. My passion is to help you tap into what your passion is and then also to begin maximizing your potential. If you only knew the power that was on the inside of you to fulfill purpose, if you only knew the power, the potential, raw material that's on the inside of you that will cause you to explode, as some of the kids used to say, to cause you to blow up. And it's not really about you. It's about glorifying God with what he has put on the inside of you. So if you need help stepping into your greatness, this course is for you and we'd be delighted for you to join us. And I like the translation of Isaiah 1:19, which says, if you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But the old World Bible tells it this way, translates it, this way. If you will only let me help you and obey, I will make you rich. Now that's what God was saying to the children of Israel. I'm just simply going to adapt that for me as a person that will bring to you this class. I believe, and I want to say it this way, if you will only let me help you and do the work. Like these assignments we've been giving you at the end of each video, they're very short. It's not something that's going to take you a long time, but I guarantee you, if you will do the steps that we are talking about, you're going to have a transformation at the end of this 5 days. It will astonish you how much you're going to change if you do the work. If you're not going to do the work, don't waste your $50 or whatever the price of any course is, because we like to do that. We'll buy a new book and we won't even read it. We'll buy a new video and we won't even turn it on. It's still in the wrapper. So do yourself a favor. If you're looking for change and looking to step into your greatness, then certainly we invite you to be a part of what we're doing. But if you know that you're not going to do anything with it, please just take these free classes that we're doing for this week and apply them. And once you apply them, if you need more help, we're going to be here to help you. If you don't need any help, that's wonderful. Allow us to be a part of the successes that you're having. Share with us what God is doing to you and through you, and pass this video on to somebody who may be struggling. Pass it on with someone who's looking to find their place in this world, who doesn't know what their purpose is, or they know what their purpose is and they don't know how to fulfill it. They may be struggling with identity. Remember, we talked about that the very first video. They may be struggling, with origin, but anything that they do not know is going to be a catalyst to wasting their God-given potential. And you don't want the graveyard to be full of the potential that's on the inside of you. I know I don't. I've got a lot on the inside of me, and I'm doing everything I can in this season to make sure that I get it out. So perhaps if you pass the video on, it will fall into the hands of someone who is looking for someone to help them get into the great zone. I know I wish that years ago someone had come to me and told me about the greatness that is within and then showed me how to get it to manifest. That's what we love doing. I'm telling you, it's absolutely exciting. Thank you tonight. So that's 3 steps that we've been talking about so far. Number 1 is identity. Number 2 is origin. And number 3 is what is your equipment? What has God equipped you with? And what will you do with that equipment? Thank you so much for tuning in for 5 Keys to Walking in Purpose. This is EJ Melvin. We'll see you tomorrow with tip number 4. Have a great evening.